Hello everybody, my name is Huts, and this is what would have made No Man's Sky a great game. Now, before we dive into everything about what I would like to have seen from this game, let's talk about this game in its current state. I think there are about 3 things that this game completely missed the mark on. And these 3 things are the motivation for this video. The first thing that they got wrong is that the game is not rewarding. Now, what do I mean by rewarding? I mean, there's no motivation for me to continue looking at life forms. There's no motivation for me to sit there for 7 hours and mine maybe, 500,000 units worth of gold or emerald or what have you. There's no motivation for me to try to do anything cool while I'm flying because I don't really have control of my ship. The game is filled with things to do, but it's not rewarding in any way. So like, for example, the animals and tracking the animals down. I feel like after exploring about 3 or 4 planets and categorizing every single thing on those planets, I've pretty much seen it all. Now, certainly, you can find a planet that has a really cool animal because it's like, that one kind of looks like a dog, and that one kind of looks like a T-Rex, but everything is more or less a recycled version of itself. There's so much repetition there. There's so many things that have been reused that it's no longer fun for me or rewarding in any way to even try to look at animals. When in the beginning, that was one of the things that drew me to playing this game. The second thing that I think they got wrong is that there's no sense of danger. There's no sense of danger. This game holds your hand so hard, it doesn't even allow you to fly your ship. I should be able to, if I want to, crash my ship into the planet. There's something satisfying about a game that just gives you full control and allows you to wreak havoc every now and then, like, for example, Grand Theft Auto. There's something satisfying about knowing you can mess up, and that's what makes you feel good or rewarded about not messing up. In this game, I feel like we're never allowed to take the training wheels off, so we never even know the joy of riding a bike for real. Now, the third thing that I think is missing from this game is the idea that the creativity is not in the player's hands. The creativity and everything about the world has been given to you. And it has pretty strict limits on it. Like I said, for example, with the creation of the animals, there really isn't that much there to get excited about. The creation of the landscape, the materials that you mine, it all looks fantastic, and the game has a great atmosphere, but that's about it. That's about the limit. That's all you can do. So if you're not happy with doing that, well then, screw you. Let's go ahead and dive right on in to each one of these aspects that I pointed out. Now, to start off with, the sense of rewarding. How could we do that? Well, if you play the game for long enough, you start to realize that you spend a ridiculous amount of time just sitting there mining one little block of gold, and then you move to the next one, and then you move to the next one. 10 hours of your life go by, and you have maybe 1/10 of the money, the units, to get that ship that you had your eye on. And you say, wow, that was actually a lot of time. I kind of wanted some sort of reward because I played, the 3 days I got off work every single night until I had to go to bed, and I stayed up till 2 in the morning thinking that something was going to come of it, and I just realized that I'm literally just starting. It defeats a player. It makes a player say, oh my god, like, this is so boring. There needs to be something, you need to give me something to make me feel good about doing this. It's like, if you want to jump into a game like Stardew Valley is one of the biggest examples I can think of. You're like, man, it's really boring to do all these things, but every step of the way, there's some reward, there's something there that makes you feel really, really good about doing that. Sure, I just spent 2 hours planting some crops, but I got tons of money, and I bought a bunch of stuff, and I did a bunch of things. I made a bunch of people happy. I furthered this storyline and made objectives. None of this is in No Man's Sky. So the quickest and the fastest way that I could think of to make the game more rewarding without changing it very much is having different skill trees. And if not skill trees, what if we had tech ages or tech levels? Or how about a combination of the two? How about after the first time that I spend 8 hours of my life mining gold, it actually pays out with a better way to get gold? Maybe a new multi-tool, maybe a better advancement on the multi-tool. Now, of course, but there are advancements to the multi-tool, but they are very expensive. You first of all have to spend 40 hours into the game to at least get some upgrades that are worth anything. And then when you add them in, you realize, well, yeah, this is gonna save me about an hour on my 10-hour trip to get more gold. There's nothing rewarding about that. I don't feel good about this. I don't feel like that 10 hours of my life that I spent mining was worth it. It's not rewarding enough. So why not have something that you can actually upgrade, but maybe only once you've spent so much time, right? Speed up the game a little bit. Make the player feel better. Like, oh my God, I spent 10 hours, but look at this kick-ass new multi-tool that I bought. It's amazing. It's so cool. Now, one of the biggest problems, like, holy crap, one of the biggest problems about actually upgrading your multi-tool is that you have a 15-slot multi-tool and then you find a 16-slot multi-tool with completely different upgrades. So you spend, you know, 3 hours upgrading that one just to realize that in the next hour, oh my God, there's the 17-slot multi-tool. Well, I'll buy that one. Well, now I just lost all of my upgrades. What the hell? What's my motivation to upgrade this multi-tool that I'm holding right here? Why would I upgrade this when I know in the next 10 seconds I'm going to be getting an 18 slot, and then a 19 slot, and then a 20 slot, and spending all that money that I just got mining all that gold to even buy the multi-tools? Sure, you can get them for free, but who the hell does that? I don't have time to wait 40 hours to maybe get a mission that gives me a free multi-tool. Ain't nobody got time for that. So the ability to get some sort of permanent upgrade that actually means something in the game. If I spend 20 hours into the game, I should be able to do something different than I did 20 hours ago. That's not the case. Now, let's say that the devs see this and they say, no, we don't really want to go with permanent upgrades. Okay, but since we have something like you can be a miner, you can be a trader, you know, you can be a pirate, how about you actually have some skill tree there? How about you actually have something that you work towards, maybe after mining, you know, 5 million units of gold, you know, okay, first of all, give the players something to work towards. 5 million gold. Now that you have that 5 million gold, I understand that I could spend that on a ship that just resets all of my upgrades in the ship and makes me start all over. But maybe after that 5 million gold, the skill tree upgrades and I'm 10% faster at getting gold, or I have access to better multi-tools than somebody who hasn't spent that long mining. And this could go the same thing for trading. Maybe you get better prices. For pirating, maybe you get better weapons. Maybe you get a ship. Maybe you unlock certain ships that are more geared towards weaponry than you would had you spent all your time mining. And having this separation between the three, or however many you want to have, actually gives the game some replayability. This time I was a pirate. Next time I'm going to be a miner because I didn't get to see something of the game. The point is, give me something to work towards. Give me something that rewards me and makes me actually want to keep doing these things. Because I'm at a point right now where I think about mining another block of gold, and I just kind of want to jump off a bridge. But moving on from the rewarding thing, if we jump right on into the danger, could you stop holding my hand, game? You hold my hand in a certain way that makes it really annoying, but then in other situations you don't hold my hand at all, and it's like, where the hell are you? You're helping me out through this game so much. You're like basically my mom, but then all of a sudden I end up breaking my leg and she says, well, go drive yourself to the hospital, you dickbag. Now, what I mean by this, first of all, I can't even pilot my ship. I can't crash my ship. I don't have full control. If I knew that I could plow my ship into the planet or into a rock and blow up, I'm gonna try to dodge things, and let's say I have a close call, I'm gonna be like, wow, that was really cool, like, we almost died, that could have been crazy, man. That's the whole reason that people take up these adrenaline rush sports, or activities like base jumping, because people want to feel like there's meaning to it. There is no meaning to flying. It's just kind of you jump in your ship and it just takes off and goes and flies over mountains and does all the things that you need it to do. It lands itself and it becomes monotonous. Now when I have to fly from point A to point B, I'm like, oh geez, like really? There's no fun in it? And I basically have to sit back and watch the computer take control. And sometimes I just want to be able to just, if I have a bad day, sometimes maybe I want to jump in my ship and drive it right into a planet. There's a little bit of satisfaction there. And on top of that, let's say that I did end up finding some way to die in the game. My inventory is just sitting there in space. There's nothing stopping me. There's no danger. There's nothing motivating me to be better at the game or enjoy flying in any way. The same goes for fighting animals on the planet. They're very predictable. They're very easy. If you just jump in the air, then all of a sudden they can't attack you. There's no like projectiles. There's nothing like that. The drones are extremely easy to dispatch. The idea that when you shoot one drone, it can send signals to alert other drones to come to your position, but then when you destroy 2 drones in a row, all of a sudden nobody gives a shit. I don't understand. Are they sending signals out? Are they not sending signals out? I find it funny that there's really nothing wrong with just killing everything and anyone. I know that if you steal enough stuff, like I stole enough Gravitino balls and I killed enough drones, one of the two made it so that every single drone on the planet now hates me, but generally leaves me alone. And don't even get me started on how annoying it is when you're on this planet and you're trying to do something with the 4-hour cutscenes that you have to wait before the options show up. Like, let's say you're at a monolith and you want to seek more about the language. All you do is learn one word, and I have to sit there for about 20 minutes while a drone flies by, sees me, decides he doesn't like me, and starts shooting me. And by the time I'm even out of the menu, I've got maybe 1/10 of my health left. Extremely annoying, but I'm getting sidetracked already. The fact of the matter is, there's no danger. There's no danger. There's nothing that makes me feel good about my skill. It's not skill-based in any way. You want a game that somebody can build up some sort of skill playing and say, I'm really good at this game. I did well today. I earned something. I did something today. But once again, that kind of ties right back into the whole rewarding thing. Now, last but not least, let's jump into it right now before I get carried away. We need to put creativity in the player's hand in some way, shape, or form. Now, this game was described as this infinite universe with infinite possibilities, but really, everything is so puddle deep that there are very little opportunities to be had with each individual thing. And as soon as you've seen each one of these bins, it makes the game go from this infinite world and it collapses down to this very small little box that we are in. You can tell a player, wow, you're going to be in this box right here, right? And inside of this little tiny little box, there's going to be an infinite number of buttons to push. Now, each one of these buttons is 4 minutes away from each other, and every single button is a different color. Does that sound exciting to you guys? No, that doesn't sound exciting to you guys. And when you go through the game, you realize that you're not actually doing all these crazy, awesome, infinitely creative things. You're just pushing a bunch of different colored buttons that you have to wait 4 minutes to get to. And that button does nothing. There's nothing that the button does. What the button does is it gives you enough fuel to get to the next button, and so forth and so forth. Now, how do we combat this? How do we combat the idea that there's no creativity inside the player's hands? Well, I'm going to bring up something that a lot of people have asked for, and a lot of people would say that this would make it a different game, but it could be very easily implemented. I'm going to be talking about base creation. Now, if you feel like you can't follow me here, if you feel like that's not part of the game, go ahead and turn out the video. I mean, I've said plenty of things already that would make the game go from yeah, it's a disappointment to I love this game. This game is really, really cool. I think with everything that I've said up to now, that would make that happen. But like I said, for those of you who are still here following me right now, I would like to talk about the idea that you put some form of creation into the user's hands. Now, the way that I would do this personally is I would have some sort of home planet or home base that a person could teleport back to, much like in Starbound. And this could be a place where you could bring back materials, you could bring back objects that you found. Maybe you could even bring back animals as pets, but let's say that it'd be too difficult or it would be too ridiculous to be able to take back every single animal. Okay, how about this? How about this? When you're actually scanning the animals out in the wild, what if you actually got little bits of DNA, right? Much like Spore. You scan this animal over here, this species, and you learn about its tail. You got a piece of DNA from its tail, and you got a piece of DNA from that bird's beak, and you got a piece of DNA from the wings of that whatever dog-looking testicle thing. Now, not only do you have the ability to compile that and bring that back with you, and maybe even creatively construct your own animal, which sounds like the coolest freaking thing that I could think of, but it gives me motivation to go around and scan more animals. I'm done scanning animals. I don't care. It takes too long for too little reward at this point. It's not rewarding enough. But now, since you put the creativity in my hands, the game goes from here is this equation that's gonna spit out these random animals, but a lot of them are very similar. This seemingly infinite thing that has actually this tiny little box, and it cracks that box open, and now I can infinitely design whatever animal that I want to, and I can be happy about that. I can be proud of that. I can show people my animal. I can look at your animals. We could have an animal building contest. We could just revel in the fact that it's soups cutes to have your own pet in your house, or maybe a gigantic pet that's guarding your house. Maybe you could set temperaments. It's infinite. It turns this box that they gave us into something that's actually infinite and creative. And some other ideas I have for base building is perhaps that's where you implement multiplayer. Maybe people can't see each other out in the real world, but maybe you could teleport back to some base. You could say, I'm gonna play with this person, and they can come over to my base and add on to it with building onto there. You could work together, you could trade back and forth, maybe you could trade DNA pieces, maybe you could even have two bases next to each other, and you could have fights. Maybe there's a PvP option where you can turn that off and actually take one fight against another, maybe even have the animals in the battle. Think of how infinitely expansive I just made the game. People are upset because you promised infinity, but you gave them a puddle. It's a very, I will give you the fact that it's a very, 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 very wide puddle, but it's still as deep as a puddle everywhere that you go. Now, before I end this, I have to talk about two things that are extremely annoying about the game. I have to talk about these two things because they are honestly my biggest gripes. First and foremost, I already talked about it. It's the idea that I have to wait so long in the menus to say, oh, look, there's a monolith, and it says something about the monolith, and then, oh, look, there's actually something that pops up that's got a bunch of storyline and cool things that they weren't able to visualize. And then, wait, where are my options? Okay, there's one option. There's the second option. Okay, can we speed this up? Because I'm getting shot by a drone right now because there was no other way to make money than to steal Gravitino balls, which made all of the drones in the world pissed off at me. The cutscenes are unbearably long. They're unbearably long, and there doesn't need to be a cutscene for every single thing that you do. Like when I walk up to a new NPC and the black bars come down and I have to wait about 30 seconds before I can actually start to the guy to even get the option to wait for the options to show up. It's a little ridiculous, and it gets real old real fast. And the second thing that I wanted to talk about is the repetitiveness of the survival. Now, I feel like there needs to be some way to work towards better survival, right? Like if I'm a person who got dumped in the middle of the ocean on an island, it's gonna take me a very, very long time, if I even do it at all, to find and survive and to make a fire and to, you know, braid different trees together and make a life for myself on this desolate island. But if I survive there for 3 years, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a little bit better at it. Nothing moves forward with how easy it is to survive. And I think, honestly, the biggest way to do this would be to make storage banks. Please, for the love of God, make a tank. Make a separate tank inside of my ship where I can put excess plutonium for the launch thrusters. Now, if you want to take some of the inventory space and designate it, maybe I get to designate it. Maybe that's my choice. I can say, thrusters are going to take these 2 spaces and automatically pull any plutonium from those spaces. Now, maybe the further I progress throughout the game, depending on which path I actually chose, being a trader, miner, or pirate, I can actually upgrade different sections of the ship to have different banks. Maybe for my blasters, maybe for my life support, maybe for my mining tools, maybe for all those really, really monotonous things that drive you absolutely crazy when you have to refill them up every 3 seconds. Even if only these 2 things could be fixed, I would feel much better. It just seems like there's just this giant pile of things that's like, well, you could have done better with that, and I don't really like how you did that, and this is really actually pretty disappointing. If I had full control over No Man's Sky, these are the things that I would want to implement into the game. Let me know what you guys think about each one of these things down below. If you like this video, hit that like button, and please share it because you'd be doing me a huge solid. I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. See you guys.